Although disagreeing on the meaning of the term middle class, up to almost 90% of Americans say they are middle class. Considering the number of people in this socioeconomic bracket, the importance of the topic cannot be stressed enough. However, one thing is evident today: the middle is in its worst economic shape for the last 50 years. The share of adults in middle-class households fell from 61% in 1971 to 50% in 2021. So in this video, we'll talk about 10 reasons why the middle class has been decimated. But before moving on to our list, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the notification bell. This will significantly help the future production of the content. Thank you. Now, let's get back to the topic. Number 1, income inequality. The argument here is simple. The middle has not been able to increase its wealth. Following the Great Depression, the proportion of income received by top income groups decreased, indicating a reduction in income inequality. From approximately 1950 to 1980, the percentage of income received by the top 10% was relatively low, hovering around 35%. However, since then, the proportion of income received by the top 10% has increased significantly, currently at around 45%. Moreover, the percentage of national income belonging to the top 1% reached a low of about 10% in the 1970s, but has since risen to almost 20%. The Gini coefficient, a measure of income inequality, revealed that the distribution of household income in the United States was 0.47 in 2022. This represents an increase in income inequality compared to 1990, when the Gini coefficient was at 0.43. This data suggests that the income gap between the wealthiest and the poorest in the U.S. has widened over the past 3 decades. Number 2, stagnant wages. We all have probably heard how previously one breadwinner in a family could afford to put food on the table for the whole family, pay for children's education, and have enough money for retirement. Back in 1985, an individual earning a median wage of $443 per week could comfortably support a family of 4 by working for only 40 weeks. Fast forward to 2022, and the same individual earns a higher median wage of over $1,200 per week. However, to afford the exact basic necessities that were possible in 1985, the person would now have to work for 62 weeks. These necessities include a nutritious diet, a 3-bedroom house, a family health insurance plan, a car, and state university tuition. Number 3, economic shocks. Needless to say that economic crisis affects millions of middle-income households. The pandemic and subsequent recession had a disproportionate impact on the financial stability of lower and middle-class families in the United States. The median income of lower-income households declined by 3%, and the median income of middle-income households dropped by 2.1% between 2019 and 2020. This data highlights the unequal distribution of the economic burden of the pandemic and its impact on various income groups. Americans in the middle class are finding it harder to keep up with the increasing cost of living. Prices are rising faster than their income, while households in the lowest and highest income brackets are seeing their income grow faster than prices. Although middle-class wage growth is still relatively high by historical standards, it's not enough to match the rising cost of living. In April, prices increased by 4.9% compared to the previous year, making it difficult for the middle class to maintain the same lifestyle as previous generations. Number 4, housing crisis. The U.S. housing market is facing a severe shortage of affordable homes for middle-income buyers. According to a report by the National Association of Realtors and Realtor.com, study revealed that the market is short more than 300,000 affordable homes for households earning up to $75,000 per year. This income group can only afford to buy 23% of homes currently on the market, compared to 50% 5 years ago. Report highlights the growing challenges middle-income buyers face in finding affordable housing despite qualifying and being able to afford a mortgage. Number 5, skyrocketing healthcare costs. Millions of Americans have medical debt, but the middle class is affected the most by this problem. According to the Census Survey of Income and Program Participation, the middle class, referring to families with an income between $50,000 and $100,000 is the group most affected by medical debt. This trend is consistent across all demographics, including race, ethnicity, education level, age, parental status, health insurance status, and geography. In 2020, nearly 17 million middle-class families, which accounts for 23.5% of such families, could not pay their medical bills in full. This percentage is 1.5 points higher than that of lower-income families and 9 points higher than that of higher-income families. Majority of people, 37% in the United States, with medical debt belong to the middle class. Number 6, unliftable student loans. The aftermath of the pandemic is expected to cause a significant increase in tuition fees, causing financial strain on middle-class families. This vulnerable group often receives little to no need-based financial aid despite being unable to afford the increased costs. While households making below $27,000 are guaranteed federal grants, those with incomes between $48,000 and $145,000 are often left without assistance. This leaves middle-class families in a difficult position as they do not qualify for need-based aid, but still struggle to pay for college. Lack of financial support for this group may lead to limited access to higher education, creating a barrier to social mobility and perpetuating economic inequality. Number 7, automation. In 2021, a study by MIT and Boston University professors suggests that automation has had the largest negative impact on wage growth over the past few decades. Study found that between 50 to 70% of changes in U.S. wage structure since the 1980s are linked to pay declines in industries experiencing rapid automation. They write that automation was the most significant force wiping out middle-class jobs and widening the wage gap from the 1980s onward. Sectors hit hardest by automation since the 80s include vehicle manufacturing, printing, and publishing. The manufacturing of rubber and plastic products, according to the team's model. Number 8, retirement insecurity. The U.S. middle class has split into lower middle and upper middle, with the former facing tough times in retirement. The lower middle group will live longer, but a more significant proportion of their life with worse health, according to Jack Chappell. For instance, a 60-year-old woman in the lower middle class in 2018 is expected to live to 84, but almost 40% of her remaining years will be lived with a disability. Additionally, the combined value of wealth and resources for those in the lower middle class grew only 3% after age 60 compared to 13% for the upper middle class. Number 9, paid leave. Short-term disability insurance is a crucial pay source for workers taking extended time off due to health reasons. However, only 43% of the private sector workforce can access this coverage through their employer. In addition, access is not evenly distributed, as only about 1 in 10 in the lowest 10% of earners, 19% of part-time workers have access to short-term disability coverage. Most private sector employees have access to paid sick time, but it's not enough to cover an extended illness or injury. Private sector workers with paid sick time received an average of 7 days per year in 2021. It's not enough to cover a severe health condition. Furthermore, only 24% of private sector workers have access to paid family leave, leaving 76% without it. Number 10, childcare costs. Inflation has been slowing down over the past year, but there's a new challenge facing millions of families with young children: the rising cost of childcare. According to a recent study by the Bank of America Institute, the average household's payment for childcare has been increasing steadily over the past few years, with the highest increase being seen among middle and upper income families. As of September this year, the average American family is spending more than $700 American dollars per month on childcare, and a significant 32% increase from the typical level in 2019. Fortunately, this problem is likely to worsen in the coming months. At the end of the day, these problems continue decimating the middle-class families that are supposed to be the backbone of the United States. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. Let us know your opinion about the topic in the comments section below.